So we are going to do the opening remarks. They're going to be timed, and since there are only two of you, we're going to begin with Melanie Piana doing the first opening remark, and then we'll move to Greg Pollica, and then we'll just end in the exact opposite order. I'm sure you can see that coming. So we'll begin now with Melanie Piana.
Well, thank you for the citizens for Fair Ferndale for hosting this forum today. It's really important for folks to hear what unopposed candidates have to say, and I'm really honored to be representing Ferndale over the next 4 years, and I thank the citizens for entrusting me for another term. I'm running for a second term to continue the momentum of working together to grow our thriving city. And I get asked all the time, well, why are you running again? And I go, basically, I don't feel like I'm done yet. I feel like there is more to do because there's so much that we have changed. City Council, with my leadership on it, sharing the load with the other council people, have done a lot to address the financial challenges facing our city over the last 4 years. And I also envision a community that uses its collective creative spirit to build a place where we can live, grow our families' businesses, and play. And everything I have done on council, I've tried to use my experience as an urban planner, a project management professional, and have brought my experiences to bear on the role that I take very seriously of being a policy and decision maker on behalf of the residents. I've really focused on trying to make our city a great place to start and grow a business. Before I got onto City Council, I ran a program called Redevelopment Ready Communities, which is now a statewide program managed by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And the whole focus of that program was trying to get cities to streamline how they attract businesses into their community. So I brought that experience to our economic development department and really tried to make it easier to do business here. I'm also focused on a citizen-focused government. While I got on council, we knew that we had some challenges communicating with residents. We didn't have new tools. We had an outdated website. We weren't using social media to communicate with residents, and that became acutely known when we had a DTE power outage, and we didn't have any way to push out information from the community, from the city hall to the residents, and we relied on the media to do that for us. And ultimately, I want to help our community better connect our people to their places, to where they work, where they live, and where they play. And everybody, I think, knows that I really support making our community a safer place to walk, to bike, and that we are connecting our community to the surrounding region through enhanced mass transit. So thank you for the residents of Ferndale for supporting me as your councilwoman these last 4 years. I'm very eager to work with Greg and the rest of council to have a great productive next 4 years. So thank you, and vote for me on November 5th.
Thank you. And now Greg Pollica.
Good afternoon. I'm Greg Pollica. I want to thank CFF for holding this forum, and I also want to thank you, the audience, for coming out and listening to us. I'm 45 years old. I moved to Ferndale in 2002, and I work for Ford Motor Company as a business analyst in the automotive safety office. Many people know me from my community service within Ferndale. When I moved here, I immediately started getting involved. I'm on the Ferndale Police and Fire Board, on the Sidewalk Hardship Committee. I'm a co-chair of Ferndale Pride. I'm the treasurer of CFF, FCF, Ferndale Community Foundation.
I don't think you've done enough.
I'm not done. I was also appointed by the mayor earlier this year to work on the Blue Ribbon Parks Commission, and I also sit on the Library Fundraising Committee. I'm running for office to continue the progress that has been started several years ago by the current council and mayor. And I'm looking forward to working with council and mayor over the next 4 years. And I want to keep Ferndale affordable and desirable by helping make wise investments and smart decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so because there are two of you, we're just going to ping pong back and forth.
Okay.
So I'll start with you, and then we'll go to you.
Okay.
And then we'll start with you, and then I'll go to you.
Sorry, analogy
you
of
want
ping pong was really
Did you get
accurate.
it? I can explain it again. We're going to start with you,
Okay.
and then we're going to go to you, and then we're going to start with you, and then we're going to go to you.
Okay, I got
And then after me, it's going to go to Mel.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're getting it. So the first question goes to Greg Polika, and it is, what would your vote be on Prop A? Yes or no?
I support decriminalizing marijuana in Ferndale, in the state of Michigan, across the country. I am not favorable of the language in Proposal A. I have a huge issue with the term private property. And if you look up the term in the legal dictionary of private property, it is any property that is not owned or governed by the government. So that means a restaurant, a hotel, a church, a bar, a clothing store, all falls under private property. I believe that the people putting forth Proposal A wanted to make a statement, and instead of coming to council and discussing opportunities to change existing laws, they chose to make a statement by creating a new law. And I don't think we need to create a new law. I would be very open to working with council on changing the current law to eliminate the fine and lower the no sentencing, but I'm trying to think of the term, but no longer be a misdemeanor. So that's where I stand. I will be voting no on Prop A.
Thank you. Melanie Piana.
My position is very similar to Greg's, as well as Mayor Coulter and others who are running for mayor. And I also support, when I was on council, before I got on council, I voted for medical marijuana in our community. And once I was on council, I worked very hard to make sure once the state law passed that our zoning regulations were designed in a way that people felt comfortable in our community about the location of medical marijuana facilities. I support decriminalizing marijuana, but from a state perspective. I support having regulation to monitor and manage such the sale or transfer of marijuana. Very much like the Michigan liquor control, as well as, what's the other one? Michigan liquor control, as well as smoking. So essentially, no, I don't support the ordinance. And when it came to council, I was astounded that the petitioner announced that the language needed work and it was not ready. However, council did not have a choice to modify or change it, and we either had to accept it as is or go to the residents to vote to approve or deny the ordinance. Now, I think our residents are very supportive of decriminalizing marijuana, but I don't think this is the path to do it. At City Council, I did recommend that we reduce the amount of fines for people who do have marijuana on their body that is 1 ounce or less, and I would be in favor of looking at how to do that locally.
Thank you. And this question will begin with Melanie Piana. The question is, describe the term Ferndale normal, that's in quotes. And what does that mean to you as you describe the meaning of Ferndale to yourself?
Okay. I tell people that ask about Ferndale is that Ferndale is a place where you are accepted for who you are. And Ferndale normal to me is who you are. and you will not be discriminated against, and you can just be whatever you want to be here, and people will support and accept you. And I think that's what Ferndale Normal is. I even made it onto Ferndale Normal. My husband and I did some photography down 9 Mile, maybe wearing Santa suits and a Santa Claus suit and a Mrs. Claus suit, and just because I wanted to have fun with my husband and be creative. And I think that is sort of what Ferndale Normal is to me, and I hope it is to others.
Thank you. Greg Polka.
I love Mel's answer. To me, Ferndale normal means not judging one, and it really aligns with CFF's beliefs and with the Civility Project. To me, an example of Ferndale normal is the very sweet woman that walks around with the bunny rabbits in her cart. You know, where else are you going to go in the Metro Detroit area and see that? So yeah, it's we're a welcoming community, and to me, that's what Ferndale normal is.
Thank you. And this question is going to start with Greg Polka. It is, who are you supporting for mayor and why?
I am supporting Dave Coulter for mayor, and it is a bit controversial for me. I have been friends with former Mayor Covey, former Commissioner Covey, for a number of years. I think he has done an incredible job when he was mayor, but it was a different time, a different atmosphere. We've gone through a lot over the last several years, and I believe that Mayor Coulter has the background, the experience, and the expertise to continue the path that we have started over the past 3 years and get us through this recession. Because, like it or not, we're still in this recession. Housing prices are still low. Number of people are still out of work. Taxes are always questionable. And we need someone on council that can easily work. We need a mayor on council that can easily work with the current members of council as well as our city staff. And so that's why I'm voting for Dave Coulter.
Thank you. Melanie Piana.
I've endorsed Mayor Dave Coulter as well. I have a couple reasons, other than I really like working with him, and I think he's done a great thing for the city. But I believe, and has always believed, that folks running for mayor should have some experience being on city council, and this is one of my personal beliefs, because the learning curve is pretty significant once you get on council. And to understand the ins and outs of the budgeting process and what the budget means, and how do the departments work together, and what are operations, because being on council, you really have to understand operations of the city in order to make policy changes and investment decisions. And I think that's critical upfront knowledge that a mayor needs to have. I support Mayor Dave Coulter because I think he has the leadership skills to build consensus, solve problems, and those are two major personal beliefs of mine. I believe in teamwork and collaboration. Even when you disagree and have very different opinions about how to approach a policy question or decision making, it's very important that you feel that you have a safe space on council with your council members about how you're going to approach a problem. And for me, that is why I support Dave. He creates safe space. I think he's very good at cutting through some of the noise in order to move forward and make sure that council is doing that together as much as possible. So please vote for Dave.
Thank you. This next question, we're going to begin with Melanie Piana, and it is, what about transit do you want your constituents to know?
Oh, this is a really hard question for me.
No, it's a hard question for me.
Someone from the governor's office told me the other day is that Detroit is the only region in the Western Hemisphere that has inadequate, unreliable transit. We are behind globally, and for me, making mass transit happen in our community is essential for making sure Ferndale and the Detroit and all of the cities in our region are prosperous. Mass transit also is about connecting to, again, people where they live, where they work, and where they play. And right now, people do not really have very few options to do that. And for the last 4 years on City Council, this has been a major issue for me. I am very proud of one of my top accomplishments is that I created a coalition of communities from Ferndale to Birmingham, which was expanded to Detroit to Pontiac, and we wrote, the small group of cities from Ferndale to Birmingham, and I was a part of it, wrote a grant to win $2.5 million for our region. And we did not spend a dime on consultants to do that, and we are still not spending a dime on consultants to do that. But the federal government is on our city's behalf. So at the end of this year, we are going to be finishing a 2-year study of what mass transit could look like on our corridor. And I've been a key player in that conversation on behalf of our community. And so going forward, I think the residents and business owners need to come out in December to the last public outreach meeting about mass transit, because after the end of the year, what is decided in that plan will be essentially built once we raise money to actually build the system. So this process is still ongoing. So please join me.
Thank you. Greg Polka.
I support mass transit along the Woodward Corridor and throughout the Metro Detroit area. I'm going to sidestep for a second. The great thing about council is that each member on council kind of has an area of expertise. Dan Martin is very involved in the water issue. Mike Lennon is very knowledgeable, having been a former police officer with the police department. Melanie is very, very educated on transit. She's very ingrained in transit. I will support mass transit, but I won't support for lack of a better term, the destruction of Woodward for it. I don't want our median completely torn out so that we can put additional 2 lanes. I think there is a workable solution. I've talked to Mel on a number of occasions about various options, but I won't risk the charm and character of Ferndale just to put a couple of mass transit bus lines down the center of the road. And so that's where I stand.
Thank you. We're going to begin this question with Greg, and I kind of love it because it has a title called Regarding Rats. A few years ago, the city changed code enforcement so a homeowner with a pile of logs on their property would get fined for not keeping the wood pile off the ground and providing a home for rats. The homeowner gets the fine added to their property taxes, but the wood pile remains. Would it be better to make sure the code violation is corrected?
Am I first or you first?
I'm first.
Okay.
You're first.
You going to rely on my answer? I'm not sure I understand the issue.
Or the scenario.
It's,
here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's about rats.
Mm-hmm. Got that.
A few.
and a wood pile.
I mean, it's my understanding.
My understanding of the question is that if someone doesn't have a cement slab underneath their wood pile, they are fined, but are not necessarily required to correct.
Well, the ordinance requires that the wood pile be 2 feet, 24 inches? 18 inches. 18 inches above the ground. It doesn't necessarily have to have concrete under it, but it has to be raised in some manner so that rats and mice aren't building their homes into the dirt or underneath. I think the ordinance is fine. I don't have issue with it. I, in fact, about a year after moving in, was given a warning because my wood pile was not raised, and I spent an afternoon raising it. I think the issue the person is having is that it's not enforceable. You can fine them as much as you want, and that fine can be added onto the taxes, but the problem doesn't change. And I think that's where Mayor Coulter's Clean Sweep program comes into play, because I'm hoping that as part of that project, there are things put into place to help correct those problems as they're identified. So the group of people that are finding these issues are there to actually help resolve them. So you're not just saying, oh, the wood pile's on the ground, we'll give them another citation. The individuals going around are actually going to help the homeowner to do the work to get it up off the ground. So I hope I've answered the question.
I interpreted the question that way. It's about if the problem still remains, the fine isn't really fixing the source.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm going to build off of that answer. I don't want to have to repeat everything you said, because I feel the same way. We have lots of people questioning code enforcement and its approaches, and there are steps in the process that the city has to do to engage a homeowner of a warning, citation, and sometimes a fine does not change homeowner behavior. And in those instances, that's when I know city staff and the city manager try to figure out solutions in addition to the fining process. For example, where I have tried to help, I've been contacted by a couple citizens who had issues with hoarding around with their neighbors. And the process that the city has in place was not adequately addressing the problem, and the homeowner needed some more time. But eventually, hoarding is a mental illness, and while city processes not necessarily can address that and solve it in a timely way with someone who has hoarding issues, I try to work with the Oakland County, our Oakland County Commissioner. I said there has to be some additional services, health services at the county that we can bear onto the city's own process. So I look at using, finding new solutions, talking to additional resources to apply to a situation that fits this rat log situation when these situations arise, because they're not consistent. They happen by issue.
Yeah.
But I don't hear too many complaints about rats under logs as a common theme in our neighborhoods.
If I could just add on for a second, in being with the Civility Project, wouldn't it be nice if the person walked over to the other neighbor's home and helped that person out, lifting that pile of logs up off the ground?
thank you. Before we begin the next question, we're moving through questions really quickly, so now would be a good time if you want to ask a question. We can take like 2 or 3 more, and just raise your hand and Kat will handle that. So we're going to begin this question with Melanie Piana, and it is, with the parks survey, how do you envision our parks being enhanced?
Great question. We did a park survey, or a master plan's park update, and I was asked to review the last version before it got published my first year on council. And in it, pretty much everybody said we need to update our parks with new parks equipment. And unfortunately, we had some financial challenges in the city in the last year in which we were not able to purchase new park equipment for those parks. In my neighborhood, specifically through the Dales Neighborhood Group, I know the residents there want to enhance their parks, not with just play equipment, but also making the pathways easier to walk on, perhaps providing more creative outlets for adults, so expanding not only children play, but adult play in our parks. And I know through the, the Blue Ribbon
Parks
the Blue Ribbon Parks Commission, they're looking at innovative ways to raise additional funds to help offset the cost of park improvement investments. A lot of cities are facing these challenges. We're no different from other smaller communities in South Oakland County who are having difficulty paying for park upgrades. So with that said, I'm also sitting on the capital improvement planning process, and so I'm very involved in trying to make sure that we identify parks that have the most pressing needs and the most outdated equipment. If they're still wood logs, I think that has surpassed the compliant code, and making sure that we start putting a really clear plan in place of addressing the issues in each park.
Thank you.
As I said earlier, I sit on the Parks Commission, the Blue Ribbon Parks Commission, and we looked at the survey that was done by Melanie 4 years ago, and from that we created a mini survey because there were a number of answers that or questions that weren't answered through that survey. And so back in July and August, we surveyed, and I'm not sure if that's the survey that someone's asking about, but we took that information and we identified those amenities that people really wanted in the parks. The number one came pool. The issue I have with that is most people are upset with water rates, so if you build a pool, who do you think is going to pay for the water? But overwhelmingly, a lot of the things were just cleaning up the parks, more trash cans, rebuild or repair the current equipment. There were a number of new amenities, and I'm not going to go into it because we are going to have a formal presentation in the next couple of weeks at council. But what we were able to do was also through this committee is identify a number of private and public foundations that were willing to grant us money for a number of these new amenities, as well as local businesses who said, you know what, I'll invest $10,000 into this project. So through collaboration, we were able to identify a number of improvements to the parks, which again will be discussed in a few weeks at the November 12th council meeting. And I would like to request of council, once I'm formally seated, if I could remain on the Parks Commission, because I feel a lot of the work that I've done over the last several months with this committee, I would like to continue the work within the formal Parks Commission.
I think this will be your area of expertise.
It could be.
Thank you. We're going to begin this next question with Greg Pollica. How will you encourage citizen involvement?
I would have to say through example. I think a lot of things are done through example, and I hope I have encouraged over the years people to get involved in Ferndale Community Foundation, in a number of the events, Ferndale Pride, or the Blues Festival, or the Pub Crawl, DIY. You can always encourage people to become involved, but they really have to have a desire. There has to be something within a project that touches them. I have a very good friend of mine who has always said to me, you know, I want to get more involved. And I encourage him all the time, saying, you know, there's this and that. And he doesn't find anything that he's really interested in. So you can't force someone to do something. All you can really do is set by example, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Thank you. And Melanie Piana.
Well, I also believe in setting an example and getting involved with the various nonprofits, organizations, and city government. I'm going to take this from a city government point of view. We have many boards and commissions in our community, and I think we need residents to participate and be involved in them. And I think people give when they have space in their lives, and that ebbs and flows over time. So you come in and out when you can. And I think it's finding the right place at the right time. I always encourage people to come sit on a board or commission in Ferndale, because it's such a struggle for people to commit monthly for a couple of years of the terms that we have. One way that I have been participating in encouraging, enhancing or encouraging millennials to participate in our government, because we've had, it's been very hard to get young people 18 to 35 to participate because how they engage is changing. They don't want to come to sit at a meeting on a monthly basis. They want to chat by Skype or send their comments via some other channel. The Suburbs Alliance, my former employer, recently won a grant from the Knight Foundation to create a program called On Board. And what they're doing is looking and assessing how all the cities in Southeast Michigan are recruiting young people to be on boards and commissions. So they're going to their websites and assessing what's their application process. Are they announcing new positions available? And they're going to be creating a website that has all the available volunteer opportunities in every city so that young people have a different outlet that they prefer in order to get engaged. And so I support those types of solutions, working with our partners to help cities.
Thank you. This question will start with Melanie Piana, and it is, will complete streets, in quotes, be implemented on Livernois, Pinecrest, and Hilton? And how? Sorry.
Complete Streets is a guiding policy. In 2010, I actively helped lead and wrote our ordinance in partnership with the Ferndale DDA, with the Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission, to make sure that our ordinance was the best ordinance for our community. And this was before the Complete Streets became state law. Yes, we have a state law for Complete Streets that guides all of the state departments. So, will Complete Streets happen? I think Complete Streets for a city is a work in progress, and you tailor improving the roadway by the priorities that you've set as a community. And we've set a priority for Hilton and Livernois, and we definitely have directed resources to the Livernois. Our great talented staff in our city planning and economic development department got a grant to help put improve parking situation on Livernois, reduce the number of lanes, putting on-street parking. And the best part is more safer crosswalks across the 8 Mile intersection and bike sharrows. So yes, it's a work in progress. Is Livernois going to be completed? I think it's going to be completed with the resources that we have to make that street as safe as possible and create a better business climate along that corridor, because I think this investment will attract new creative businesses along that corridor. And of course, we're looking at making Woodward a Complete Streets too. So, and we also have a multimodal plan underway. Council in 2010 approved the Complete Streets policy that said the city needed to create a multimodal transportation plan to figure out how to make our streets more complete on a street-by-street basis. And we are currently undergoing that process now.
Thank you. And Greg Polika?
You know, it's funny, I joked before we started that I was going to say this, but I agree with what she said. Mel is, this is another area of Melanie's expertise is Complete Streets. I will copy everything that she just said, but I will add that Complete Streets, and Mel will correct me if I'm wrong, actually encompasses every street. It encompasses all of Ferndale, not just major or main streets. So eventually all of Ferndale will, well, we're already part of all of it, but the handicap accessible sidewalks, that's all part of Complete Streets. So I support it, and like you said, it's statewide, so don't have a choice.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for all of your participation and all the extra questions. We don't have time to take all of them, but they're over here, and the candidates can review them, and they can, you can talk to them after this is over. But now we're going to go into closing remarks, and
Wait a minute, you didn't ask about parking.
Yeah. Wait a minute, yeah,
Well, it's
parking,
because-
let's see, we missed
Parking,
parking, water, economic development, collaboration, consultants. You didn't cover consultants.
well, my main interest was where are the rats going to park?
Oh, okay. Under the wood
we didn't
piles.
have time to get that either. So not everybody gets their interest shared all the time. We're going to begin. The closing remarks are 2 minutes, I think, and we're beginning with Greg Pollica.
Okay. I want to thank CFF for hosting this, and you all as well for coming out. I'm going to be presumptuous and congratulate Melanie Piana on her election win.
Likewise.
Thank you. Every election is important. I would like to encourage you all to get out and vote. Voting for both of us, either one of us, is important, even though we're running uncontested. It lets us know that you do support the fact that we are running. I also want to encourage you to vote for Mayor Coulter, not because he and I will agree on everything, quite the contrary. I think there are a number of issues where Dave and I don't see eye to eye, but Dave and I have worked well together in the past. I know that he and I can work well together in the future, as well as myself working with Melanie and Dan Martin and Mike Lennon. I want to thank my supporters. I want to thank my supporters who supported me 4 years ago when I ran, particularly Craig Covey. He is one of the reasons why I got involved in politics. The reason I got involved in politics was because I was so active in the community. I wanted to continue to do more. And I wanted to, I believe that running for city office is that next step. And I want to thank all of my supporters this time, especially Jeannie Davis and Dan Martin, who have worked very hard on my campaign, and there's so many others. But again, thank you for coming out, and please vote on November 5th.
Thank you. And finally, Melanie Piana.
I am running again because I want to continue the momentum that I have been a part of making sure that our community is financially sound, retains its creative spirit, and that we're focusing on the future of making our community a safe place to be in terms of walking, biking, increasing transit, a great place to have a business, and a great place to grow your family. I feel I have been very honest about who I am and what I bring to the table, and those are very important elements for me to be a representative of your community. I'm getting verklempt. I take it very seriously, and I've worked hard. People know that I come prepared, and if I don't know an answer, I will tell you I don't know something, and I will try to figure it out. And sometimes solving some of our challenges together can be quite stressful, but I love working on our community on the citizens' behalf. I will continue to be focused on getting things done because I'm a project manager and I love to get things done. And I also want to also thank my supporters who helped get me elected the first time and who are supporting me going forward. But most of all, I have to thank my husband, Jim, because I would have never been able to survive the first 4 years without him supporting me, making me dinner, doing the laundry when I'm at meetings. So having a great partner really helps me be a great council person, so thank you.